Hello and welcome to the Matchbook Betting Exchange podcast, where we are discussing all matters Boyle Sports Irish Greyhound Derby. We're down to the final 24, and I'm thankful to say that PL, the master, Paul Lawrence, is here with me today as we once again discuss the remaining competitors in this year's Classic, and it really did come to life on Saturday. Yes, we had disappointing news that Bucco's Diamond, the defending champion, was a non-runner ahead of last week's third round, but in his absence, a few of the youngsters did step up to the plate, as well as a certain proper heiress, Paul. You could see it flying the flag down to the third bend, waving that Union flag, and got the better of Cheap Sandwiches. And I think that was good for the Derby.
Yeah, it was. And a lot of people were saying they've never seen such a buckle in a race in Shelburne. Quite some words, really, that gave great credit to the race itself. And I actually think that there were a couple of dogs that ran well in behind the pair of them as well. But it was good to see. We did say you could strike a line through Proper Heiress's second round performance. Although he ended up winning, he was a bit lucky, we said. But I said you could look back and all of a sudden now he's sort of vying for favouritism, isn't he? With Bucco's Diamond withdrawal and Bombay Pat missing his kick and going out.
Yeah, all of a sudden it's a little bit different at the top. We've had one Derby favourite for the last, I'm going to say 20 months. And then all of a sudden now we've had three, because Bombay Pat was briefly favoured last week. He got knocked out. Cheap Sandwich is his favourite this week. And who's to say he can't make a mistake or whatnot? If Proper Heiress did things right, he could well be clear favourite come Sunday morning. But we'll get into that. Before we get into the Derby action itself, let's once again remind you of the various offers we have there. Pod 50 is the code if you are joining up with Matchbook. Bet £50 and get £50 back as a free bet. And again, that entry code there is Pod 50. And don't forget to check out the Track Club. Bet £30 over Monday to Thursday and get £10 back on the Friday for the weekend's action in way of a free bet. So let's get into it, PL. You mentioned it there. Proper Heiress and Cheap Sandwiches was the clash that everyone was talking about at Shelburne Park the other evening. And as a result of their meeting and the result, we have, two exceptional greyhounds, both September 22 whelps, sitting on top of the anti-post market. Cheap Sandwiches is a marginal favourite with the majority of firms, but it's, Proper Heiress is still disputing there with a couple of them. It'll be interesting to see how the exchanges go later in the week. At the moment on Matchbook, it's just about Cheap Sandwiches, but that could change. It is pretty tight at the top, but I'm glad they didn't meet again now in the quarterfinals. I would like the same to happen in the semifinals. Wouldn't it be great if we were, licking our lips and looking forward to the final with the two meeting for the first time since this latest clash?
Yeah, yes, it's good that they've been split. It's just bubbling up to be quite nice in that, I suppose, to a certain extent, you always want the best dogs to go through. Now, we couldn't really help Bucco's Diamond with his injury on the gallop. But Bombay Pat, I said I was a believer and I should have backed it. And then within a round, he's gone. It's just he went back to type and he made his mistake at the start, didn't he? He just couldn't recover from it. I think he got a slight touch in. You mentioned about Hello Diego, and he just got a slight nudge, which didn't help him. He just stopped his momentum of then rushing to the turn. He was cutting across. He just couldn't get any kind of clear run. I thought he might have just edged into third spot coming around the last two bends, and then his kennel mate Rural Pet came in and chinned him near the line, I think. So yeah, it was sad to see.
He has won over 5.75 yards in the past, but he was a dog. He's very much a front runner, Bombay Pat. We've always said that.
Yeah.
And off the second bend, it was clear he was in a bit of danger, because Rural Pest will say 5.75 yards, 600. Certainly, if he's on his own, he will. So it was an issue for Bombay Pat. As it was, the winner, Ballymac Stud, one of the youngest dogs left in the Derby, and I think one of the most impressive winners of the Derby, to this point. And it has to be said, he was one of three or four youngsters that really took a step forward on Saturday night. There was a big void there left by Bucco's Diamond. Of course, Cheap Sandwiches and Proper Heiress stepped forward to probably fill that void, but so did a few of the youngsters. Unanimous Leo, obviously Sing Along Curly was hugely impressive, and Ballymac Stud. So all of a sudden, the Derby is not flipped on its head completely, but we're also all of a sudden talking about a different group of greyhounds that can certainly play a part in this year's competition.
Yeah, which I think we kind of mentioned last week was that we had those established runners, and then all of a sudden, like you say, Bocco's Diamond's gone, Bombay Pat's gone, but there's always those dogs that kind of just they start to impress and improve through the Derby itself, and being youngsters, they can do that easily. You know, it can just be some little uh, thing that just gets them going. But it was a great point that you made last week, because I think you said you highlighted you found a bit of value in Ballymac Stud Anti-Post during the competition, and I went back and watched him, and he did actually run really well in the Proper Heiress race, where we said Proper Heiress got lucky. Magical on Fire just took him out at the first bend a little bit and forced him to go the scenic route. And as you said, then he had his opportunity to lead. He led impressively as well, because it was Lenny's Dream, wasn't it, on his inside that smashed out, and he flew past her. So it's nice to see that kind of raw early pace, isn't it, from youngsters? You know, you mentioned as well that Pat Buckley had a couple of his sing along Curly, you know, the name change dog. He suddenly has learnt how to trap, but it's not just trapping. He's showing good early dash with it, and it's you know, it's great to see. A lot of people love the early pace.
Yeah.
To win a Irish Derby or even a Greyhound Derby over here, you need to do it on a number of occasions, and you need to be able to stay. You can't be that one trick pony where you need to lead to win, because the night you don't, then you're out. So
Yeah.
it's good to see some of these young dogs coming through.
The absence of Brocco's Diamond did contract the anti-post market quite considerably. Like, you know, you mentioned Ballymac Stud, for instance. He was 50-1 in places in the Monday, and the moment Brocco's Diamond was confirmed on runner, he was down to 20-25. You know, all of a sudden, and then look, we're looking at him now, and he's 8-1 best, 6-1 in many places about Ballymac Stud. So like things can change fairly rapidly. You look at the top of the market, it's cheap sandwiches in and around 3-1. You get about 130 in places. That will be the case on the exchanges later in the year or later in the week. Proper RS around 3-1 generally as well. So they are pretty much disputing favoritism, but you can get a bit of 7-2 about him. It's then Ballymac Stud, who we've mentioned. The Laddie Da is still there around 10-1. Shanahy Boomer all of a sudden's come into the equation. 14s is his general price, and Glengar Silent 16, Magical Mag 20, and Hussein Pickles 20. So all of a sudden, 3 or 4 dogs have been dragged into it that weren't there really. Like Shanahy Boomer, while we were talking about him being potential heat winners, all of a sudden now a dog that's doing 335, 336 to the corner every night, 29.40 on the bunny, just not that easy to pass him. All of a sudden you can say there's an angle for him to win a Derby, whereas it was difficult to see it last week when you still had the Bocco's Diamond, the Bombay Pats of this world there. Yes, cheap sandwiches and Proper ARS are tremendous, but there's only 2 of them, whereas it was 4 when you added Bocco's Diamond and Bombay Pat. So is there anything else that has been dragged into a PL that you're going to say, I now think this is a serious life in terms of an anti-post book, or is the value gone?
I think a lot of I think you're right. I think a lot of value has gone, especially with Ballymac Stud, because he did impress me. But you've mentioned Shanahy Boomer as well, Ballymac Stud. They're drawn alongside each other, and probably how I perceive to be the value left, and I've already backed her, is Magical Mag. I just think that she is trapping clockwork. She's got the inside line, which is always a massive help. And if she breaks like she has been doing in the last couple of races, then Ballymac Stud and Shanahy Boomer have got to get round her, and I'm not too sure whether they can.
Yeah.
So as much as I was getting excited with Ballymac Stud, and I was tipping my hat to you and saying, "Well done," because you found a nice bit of value. Now all of a sudden, he could have actually got into an easier heat, Ian. So he can't afford to do the puppyish thing and miss his break, because you're quite right about Shannon Boomer as well, because we kind of said, oh yeah, well, it's maiden form. He wasn't quite good enough for Bombay Pat last year either. He was impressive, and when it came down to the nitty gritty, they can't actually go with the Bocco's Diamonds. Oh, Bocco's Diamonds not here anymore. So all of a sudden now, you're right, they are a force to be reckoned with. And he actually is a dog that's seeded inside, and he probably should have a middle on him because it fetches him out the boxes. He probably wants 3 ideally. But I will say with Shanahy Boomer, he probably out of Shanahy Boomer and Ballymac Stud at the turn, he will probably be coming in the most. I think Ballymac Stud takes a lovely line, and that's what I've been impressed with him. It wasn't his fault the week before when Magical on Fire took him on a wide course and he got shuffled about a bit, but he still had the wherewithal to come back, and obviously that's what you saw. So I don't think particularly he's a one-trick pony because he's got really good 2 to 3, and he sees it out well enough. And a lot of these in behind might just find it hard to reel him in, such as Tarzan Masai you'd probably agree is a front runner. Blast Off Hefo, I didn't think he came home that hard the other day, and Happy Jet just they keep on at the one pace, but whether they've got enough class to then get past those 3 dogs, Magical Mag, Ballymac Stud and Shanahy Boomer, I don't know. But I think within the context of anti-post left, I think around the 20s, I think she is. I still think she offers a bit of value because I think she'll be in the semi-final.
Yeah, again, it's one of those heats where it was much like the first heat the other evening, where unanimous Leo went out and won it. He wasn't favourite. Solo and Go was a shorter price, or Magical Keith was a shorter price.
Magical Keith, yeah.
And like a flying start from one of the outside 2 can all of a sudden ruin the chances of the one on the inside. Now, Magical Mag, certainly there's nothing to suggest she's going to fold away. Like, it's not as if, she turns third, she's very vulnerable. Like, she'd want to be on her toes to contain certainly the likes of Blast Off Hefo and Happy Jet to a point. Tarzan Masai certainly won't come from behind her, but it does leave that door open. Like, what I'm asking is, like, if she did pop out and win, and she got, let's say, trap 2 or 3 in the second round or next round, would she still be 14 or 16 to 1? Could you afford to sit and watch? Or if you're looking maybe to have an each way value bet with her, is 20s probably is now the time, is what I'm asking. It's about timing rather than if she's the right choice.
The thing is that she on her card has got 29.50, 29.40, 29.40. They're still classy runs. They're still Derby final class. And I just think that she's trapping. She's showing good all-round speed, and she looks professional. And as you say, she goes through the line. She's not going to come from miles back, but there's no vulnerability about her. Put it that way. She sees 550 out really, really well.
So in essence, it's not extensive timing. Then the fact of the matter is 20 to 1 is value, and value is value, because if she does win or qualify, and she gets again trap 1 or 2 the next round, and 1 or 2 of the trappier types go out, all of a sudden you have a chance of going, well, if she makes the final, like, she's not a big price to lead around the corner again, and therefore, 20 to 1 is the right value. I tend to agree with you. I think there is a little bit of juice on her. Whereas there's one, let's say Hussein Pickles at 20 to 1, I wouldn't have her in my mind at the prices. I wouldn't back her at 40, and she's 20. She always does seem popular in the ring, and I've been a huge fan for a long, long time. I just don't think she's where she was at one point, and I just can't see how she's going to be coming from 4th and 5th every night to qualify. It'll get to a point now where she'll run out of road. I'd assume that you'll find 2 or 3 strong runners in front of her, and that could be the end of her. Whereas Magical Mag, in contrast, she'll be looking to do it from the front, and if she does produce a run the next night, she'll go through. I hope she's not going through at the expense of Ballymac Stud, though. I will say that straight out, PL. Of course, there's no point in denying it. I want him to go through.
Of course, but the thing is, it's almost like I can't see all 3 of them coming around that cleanly. That's my worry. I think out of the 3 of them, Shanahy Boom has got to clear Magical Mag and Ballymac Stud. That's his kind of negative. As impressive as he's been from track 4, he'll probably move in a little bit, which again, Ballymac Stud, I think he'll stay fairly straight. He might even edge in a tiny bit himself, but I just think those 3 will kind of go to the bend, and to do their best runs, Ian, they need clean runs. They need to be on their own, and I don't. Obviously, they can, especially the 2 dogs down the middle, they can't be on their own. So that's why I just thought the way that she's starting, that she's going to be up there on the inside at the corner.
Yeah.
That was my theory. Put it that way.
Let's take it that Cheap Sandwiches is 3-1 and Proper ARS is 7-2. Like, it's not really the case. In fact, there are one or two spots where Proper ARS is even favourite. Which of them would you make favourite?
I think because you've just seen what happened last week, you'd have to make Proper ARS favourite. I will say, if you again, I don't get me wrong, I highlighted Bombay Pat and his sectionals, and he's so consistent, and then the trap's open and he comes out. But Cheap Sandwiches, prior to the derby, we kind of said there's a little bit left in him, and if you look at his runs. 29.87, 29.71, 29.53, 29.49, 29.34. That's good. That's good. And, he's trained by a man that can train a derby winner. And Cheap Sandwiches has always been the bridesmaid behind Bucko's Diamond, his kennel mate. So it's actually a massive chance for him now. And the fact that he's a wide runner, he runs the bends really well, it is good. But
I think that's the big difference. I think the fact is, like, Proper ARS could do everything right on Saturday night, win in 29-20. Cheap Sandwiches can make mistakes and still qualify. I still think Cheap Sandwiches is probably the one to be favourite, purely because he doesn't need luck with the draw, whereas Proper ARS is still in a situation where he could find himself in trap 4 with a Magical Mag, with a Shanahy Boomer and a Sing-Along Curly. Trappy types. In contrast to last year's derby, a lot of the really, really flying starters are inside seeds, where that didn't happen last year. It is the case this year. There are a lot of really professional trappy dogs with an inside seeding, and that's the issue for me in terms of you still need luck with Proper ARS in terms of the draw. The ability's there, and in terms of ability, himself and Cheap Sandwiches are certainly the two against the field at this moment in time. Like, the likes of Ballymac Stud could well be as good, if not better, in the future. Maybe one or two of the others are certainly going the right way as well. But in terms of Cheap Sandwiches, even looking at the wide seeds and the middle seeds left, there's barely a bad draw for him. Like, even if they all qualify, Cheap Sandwiches got 3 in the final, I don't think it'd be an issue. Like, because of the dogs that he will have on his outside. I think he doesn't need luck with the draw, whereas Proper ARS, I'm not saying he needs luck with the draw. He just needs to avoid bad luck with the draw. Does that make sense?
I understand totally what you're saying. Although I will say, he has proved himself time and time again. He's not draw dependent. It's incredible because you actually put him in the middle box. He's 1 out of 4.
Yeah, but I'm not even talking about the box. I'm just talking about the company around him. That's the issue.
No, yes, I know you are. But what I'm saying to you is that he's not a dog that misses it and flies up generally. He's a dog that goes bang, and then he goes with it. And he's got that good all-round pace. So I understand where you're coming from, but it's a bit like last week. I said to you, completely and utterly line that where we said he got lucky, line it. And I just think if you look either side of it, he had the trial. We said he left loads on the track. You said your words were in the first round. Again, he just looked in second gear. He proved with his buckle against Cheap Sandwiches that he is the quality dog in the competition that can win a derby. And I just think there's a bit more to come, even with experience at Shelburne. So I'm not saying there's nothing between them. The race said that there's nothing between them. I get what you're saying about Cheap Sandwiches draw. That's fine. But at the end of the day, if Proper ARS does what he can do starting wise, then Cheap Sandwiches got to get around him, and he proved last Saturday night that he couldn't. So listen. I hope they both get to the final, because it'll be one hell of a final with those two in it. But there are a lot of good dogs, as you say, bubbling in the background. If should they get to the final, they'll give them a race as well.
Yeah, and we still have to talk about their next round, because it's just not straightforward for either of them. Let's call a spade a spade. Like, the draws could have been easier for both of them, although, funnily enough, this week the draw probably is better suited to Proper ARS in terms where if we know he does what he does at traps when he can, he should be okay because he's in the inside of all his rivals. Whereas Cheap Sandwiches still has dogs around him. At the same time, he's going to be 1 to 2. Proper ARS will be a bit bigger, but not considerably. Let's get into the 4 quarterfinals. Magical Mag, by the way, was the one. That's the one that sort of does represent that little bit of value outside of, let's say, the top of the market. I'm sort of with you, to be honest. I can see where there's juice in her, whereas I'm not sure there is about many of the remainder at this stage. I think they sort of found the right sort of price. Again, I felt 1 or 2 maybe are even shorter than they should be. Certainly Callaway 5 wouldn't interest me at 25, 28. I wouldn't be backing Hussein Pickles, as I said. I would take the percentage away from Magical Mag with them. I'd push them both out and take a clip off Magical Mag. I'd have her around the same sort of price as Shanahy Boomer. That's where I'd have her, in and around 14 to 1 at this stage. So yeah, good point, good spot. And let's go into the quarterfinals. The first heat, PL, and it does feature Cheap Sandwiches. He'll be in and around 2 on. He's racing from trap 5, which won't be an issue for him. He should comfortably lead up Droopy's Deploy in trap 6, who did, has to be said, stayed on to win the other night. He's not a dog they found easy to win with, but he ran well to score the last night. Unanimous Leo is in 4. He is an issue in the opening yards, as is Lenny's Dream in trap 2. Both of them very trappy, but Cheap Sandwiches will go up straight and true. And he did make up ground into the opening corner the other evening, proper ARS. He does have that burst into the bend. That's probably enough to see him at least be level at the corner. And if he's level at the corner against these, you'd assume he'll go into a 2 or 3 length lead down by the third bend, and that should be enough.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. And the other thing is with Unanimous Leo, who's in trap 4, he will edge into kind of lane 3 anyway, so he'll get plenty of room. We don't really expect Droopy's Deploy to give him anything to worry about too early, but you never know. He could flash out. But I still think that Cheap Sandwiches have got much better early than Droopy's Deploy. Well, much better early than this field. Lenny's Dream's running really well because she is just trap. She's just doing what she should do. Again, with Paul Hennessy's Greyhounds, we said that, and I was kind of thinking when you said about big prices, there are a couple of Paul's dogs I think actually they're running so well they could easily qualify, and again they could offer a little bit of outside nibbles for small money at big prices, win wise on the exchange prices, such as Priceless Romeo in this race. I happen to think that he ran really well last week behind the aforementioned Shanahy Boomer. Got beat 2 lengths. He's running through the line really well, but he's not completely and utterly devoid of early speed either. And here, if Unanimous Leo sort of cannons into Callaway 5, they rub shoulders, Lenny's Dream's up there. He might just, if he gets a start, turn in a pitch. I think in the first round, he ran from trap 1. I actually thought when I looked at some of his runs, Ian, he might move off. But actually, he stayed his line of fairly well.
The night he won in the second round, he moved off the corner because he had no option but to move off to get around the dog. It was the difference between winning and losing. That's what won it for him.
I think he does that anyway. I think he's actually, and down the back straight he's quite wide as well. It's strange in that I went back and watched all his 3 runs because of this draw. Lenny's Dream she'll probably edge off a little bit. She's a good trapper, but I think he'll have enough room, and if he gets a good start with her, he could go well at a big price here. That was my thinking. I think he'd
probably have more pace down the back than Lenny. So even if he chased her around, he could just get to her by the third bend. Now, she'll stay on strongly. Like, he'd want to be in front of her by the third bend. But it is worth pointing out, like, Matchbook will have the place market. And if he's 10 to 1 during the week, like, that would generally equate to generated finishers or dogs like him that they'll keep him that little bit under. I'd still suggest you get about a 3.4, 3.5 about him. I think that's perfectly fair in a race where Cheap Sandwiches is likely to set a strong gallop, but there's nothing cut and dry in behind. And as you say, if you have a dog running so strongly, so well, it's just the way Hennessy trains them as well. Like when it gets to the attritional part of a competition, they're just going to keep going. And the issue here is a kennel companion rather than himself.
Exactly. I mean, I just think I just think he's kind of just priced up that little bit wrong. I think he's kind of going under the radar a little bit. And you're right with Paul's dogs. They always seem to have that touch of stamina and that will to keep going through the line, and that's what I liked about him. So he was just something, I don't. It's easy to come in and go, yeah, I like the favourite here. Oh yeah, you can't see past the 20.
Yeah.
I think Cheap Sandwiches will win because he's quality and he's class. But we're just looking for that alternative, and you do have that alternative. You quite rightly say because you can have a bet in the place market, and I just thought he might be one.
Where's the balanced price with Cheap Sandwiches? Like, would you back him at 4 to 6? Would you lay him at 2 on? Like, where does it fall in the middle? Like, where do you see him?
I'll wimp out late. I do. I'm not massive on laying good dogs. I don't like laying good dogs.
Yeah. Lay good dogs, you'll go poor quickly.
I think so. But you're right. Everything's got its price, but you don't always have to go overboard laying. And it's Cheap Sandwich, a dog I love anyway. As you know, I've always liked him. I backed him for the Irish Derby last year, and I backed him for the English Derby this year. And I think he's got a wonderful chance. I'd love to see him get to the final as well. I'd love to see him win it, really. But not that I've got any financial interest, but he's just a dog that really turns me on. I really like him. I just think he's a good all-round Derby class competition dog. So I'm not really interested in. I'd only be interested in backing him at 4 or 6. You're right. That's probably what I would do. But I think my play would probably be a small place on Price's Romeo.
Yeah. Do you know what? I second that. We'll move on to the second heat, and this is one of those races where you wish you could have your bet after 4 strides. Magical Mag is in 1, Happy Jet is in 2, Ballymac Stud is in 3, Shanahy Boomer 4, Blast Off Heffo 5, and 6 is Tarzan Masai. Don't get me wrong, we knew that Ballymac Stud could be sharp in the opening stages. He looked very sharp in his first 3 or 4 races in unraced company, albeit in Shelburne Park. The other evening was the first time he's really gone up well over the 550. He was shown good speed to the corner the previous night when he got badly done. The night when Proper ARS found himself in front off the second bend. He showed loads of pace that night. But the other evening, Lenny's Dream took an absolute flyer. This fellow does a 337. And I would suggest that if he does a 337, he'll probably be moving into the corner faster than Magical Mag and Shanahy Boomer. But the key is getting to the line in 337. If he does, I think he'll quickly emerge as the one to beat. If he does a 345, all of a sudden he's hoping for a little bit of room in the corner with Magical Mag and Shanahy Boomer likely to be in front of him marginally, but enough that it could just put him off. He's still young enough and inexperienced enough. I think Ballymac Stud is very much the key to the race. I wouldn't back Tarzan Masai with free money. He's running well, but he's not the dog he was. Similar for Blast Off Heffo. He could well grab a place. That's what he's been doing. He got into a ledger, finished 3rd in our ledger. He snuck through each of the rounds thus far. That's what he'll be looking to do again. And Happy Jet, he turned much closer the other evening than he ever has done. It's going to be a struggle to turn as close here because, as we've said, Magical Mag, Ballymac Stud, and Shanahy Boomer, certainly 2 of them are hugely professional, and you would suggest that Ballymac Stud, he's shown enough to suggest that he's going to be a pro going forward as well. I hope the 337 is just a start, PL. From a personal point of view and financial point of view, I hope Ballymac Stud does a 334, pops out in front, and does a 29.20, and all of a sudden we're rubbing our hands next week and we're blowing trumpets and whatnot. But it can get tricky. And I would suggest you're probably going to side with Magical Mag.
I am, but I will make a statement now. Ballymac Stud did that run off a raw early pace. He didn't do it off a quick away. It wasn't a quick away by any means because Lenny's Dream got the quick away. He did that with raw pace, and he had to go rounder as well. And that's what I was really turned on about, was the fact that he just showed real good acceleration. Now, I think you're probably right. I'm pretty sure he's got best early in the race. I'm pretty sure he's got best early. But it's the starting ability of the pair in 1 and 4 that's just the concern for him, because he hasn't actually got he's not a dog that you say he goes bang, 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 whereas Magical Mag does, and actually Shanahi Boomer from Trap 4 does as well.
Yeah.
But I do think that he's got the best natural early pace, and it's frightening the pace that he shows really round to the third turn. Now, I think he's another one of those. If he's off the front, you ain't getting him. You're just not getting him. There's nothing coming from off the back of him. So if he does happen to pop out and get rid of Shanahi Boomer straight away, and if he can get so as Magical Mag doesn't get a 2-length break on him, then he could easily lead and win. He could do. He could do. But because of the draw, I made Mag slight favourite in front of him, and the fact that I think Shanahi Boomer will go ins a little bit might just give him something to think about. But other than that, I don't really see. I think Happy Jet's could get lucky from his draw, because he's got. I think in essence he's got a better draw than Blasov Hefo, who's going to be kind of changing direction as well, because he's got to be going 5 into 3. Tarzan Masai also moves in a little bit on the run up. I think if Hefo goes across, that'll encourage him to go over even more. And again, I can't see him getting round all that speed on the inside. I just hope that they all can get a line through. Obviously you don't want to see. But it's just,
I think there's less chance of traffic if Ballymac Stud comes away, because Shanahi Boomer, it is worth pointing out, like, he has 27 starts at this stage. He's not going to just dive in on top of Ballymac Stud. I think he'll stay his line pretty much relatively true if the dog's up his inside. And if that happens, I think they'll all probably go around relatively cleanly. Shanahi Boomer will have to sacrifice probably a bit of momentum and ground on the opening corner. But if Ballymac Stud comes away, if he doesn't come away and he's trying to rush up in between the two of them, well, then it gets a bit sweaty. Not so much for Magical Mag, but maybe Shanahi Boomer, because Ballymac Stud's only having his 9th career start. If he races up the inside of Shanahi Boomer and all of a sudden Mag is there, he might just check off. And that's where you have the potential for a bit of problems. But again, if Ballymac Stud traps on terms, or if he traps, let's say, a half length or 3 parts of length behind, he may well still have the early speed to get up the inside of Shanahi Boomer into the opening corner. And then hopefully that will allow for cleaner racing. But it is a worry. I agree with you in a sense where Magical Mag she has definitely the best of the draw. I still think I'd have Ballymac Stud just marginal favourite. But Shanahi Boomer, it's effectively nearly 2-1 each of 3 in places. Ballymac Stud isn't quite 2-1, he's 7-4. But like, Shanahi Boomer would by a margin be the third of them that I'd back. Like, I wouldn't back him at 3. I think he should be 3-7-2. I just think he needs to do it absolutely right and hope that the other two don't, because otherwise he's going to struggle to clear them. So I think there should be probably more percentage taken up by Magical Mag and Ballymac Stud. It probably should be 6-4, 7-4, and then maybe 5-2, 3, 7-2, whatever. Shanahi Boomer. I think you can go fancy prices about the remainder. But yeah, I'll be sticking with Ballymac Stud. But again, it'll be probably without a bet in hand because of my anti-post interest. But if he did miss the kick by 3 parts of a length, it'd be a case of just closing the eyes a little bit into the opening corner and just hope for a bit of luck.
Magical Mag is my biggest winner. She actually gets me holiday to Australia. But and to be fair to her, she got me out of a hole last Saturday night winning the last heat as well. So
that was never in doubt.
She does me a few favors, to be fair to her. So and I've got a top bitch as well. So but I am torn because, and I wish they weren't in the same heat. I wish they are drawn correctly, so that's fine. There's a lot to like about Ballymac Stud, but for me, on a personal level, there's a lot to like about Magical Mag as well. So
from a personal level, we're coming at it from different angles. We'll move on to P3. The aforementioned proper ARS. I think you might get a bit of even money on the exchange on the night. I'm not sure it'll be going off even money, but I think it will touch it at some point. He'll probably come back to around a 191, 190. That's the sort of range where I think he'll be. Not because he shouldn't win from the draw. It's just that 333 is glaring from Singalong Curly. We know Phoenix Memphis look well. Check for Cash is that 336. Glengar Silent is so fast from the second bend. He's second in the betting. I'm not sure I'd put him in second in. I really like him. I think he's a hell of a fast greyhound, but he's far from the finished article. And this isn't the type of race where you want to be giving them a 2 or 3 length head start and going on all the sectionals. That's what's going to happen nearly. And then Magical Sapphire is running really strongly on the outside. She actually, in hindsight, she ran a better race last week than I actually first thought. I think she took a false step around the bottom, the first 2 bends. She lost 2 or 3 lengths very quickly.
At the second bend, she did. Yeah,
that didn't really sort of make sense at the time. We've seen enough of Proper ARS to know that he can trap from the inside, from trap 1. Both his wins in Shelburne Park, both his better sectionals from Shelburne Park have come from trap 2. The fact that he did the 356 from trap 1 is the only concern. He walked out that night. It was miserable, wet, sludgy ground, but he did miss the kick badly. So that's the one thing you're worried about. Singalong Curly. He did a 333 the other night, PL. It looked like he wasn't even in the traps. It was like Susie Sapphire in prime mode. Like, it was an absolutely lightning start. You have to question whether he can repeat that. If he does, Proper ARS will be on his back foot straight away. He's going to have to show his professionalism. Now, he will have loads of room up the inside if Singalong Curly does that 333. And listen, the overall clock suggests that he should have no problem in mowing down Curly. But it just could make life interesting if Curly does take a similar start.
Yeah, that, as you say, if Singalong Curly gets the wallop and Proper ARS just misses it a little bit, he's going to be there, isn't he? That's in his eye line. That's just the one little negative. Yeah, it's not ideal by any means. It's not. And I do get, because I've seen Proper ARS from track 4 and you think, oh, that's a tricky draw. He just goes smash.
Yeah,
out of the middle boxes. He's just a professional trapper. He's just a professional in every way, it seems. And it's great. It's actually great that, Sid and Daniel have come over and they're with him and they're doing it the right way. Because I think to travel backwards and forwards is tough. He's obviously settled in well, and it is great. It's just great that he is in the competition and doing himself proud for a man that knows how to win an English derby. So it is fantastic. But as you say, it's not. I would say, he should be slight odds on. He should be, and I think he'll win all right. But Singalong Curly is a force to be reckoned with, and he's a pup that's just starting to trap well. And it's not like he just bangs out Ian and goes nowhere. He's actually roaring to the bend as well. He's showing good. Droopy Sydney pace, he's just got that the early dash that Droopy Sydney's Dear Jet Sydney give you. He won the COVID year, didn't he, at Nottingham, the derby. October 23 puppy, and he just seems to have gone, and he's backed it up as well. So he's gone bang bang, hasn't he? He's done the 3-4-3 sectional, then the 3-3-3. So yeah, he looks like a dog that could go forward again. Pat's other dog, Glengar Silent, he's definitely he's definitely not breaking great. He's moving in, but it's that good 2 to 3 pace that he's showing. So that could help him qualify. The thing is with those 2 dogs on the inside that are renowned good starters, that is a little bit of a negative for Check for Cash, because you'd imagine Check for Cash would have to lead to win. And Phoenix Memphis isn't a slow boat, is he, in the early pace of he's another kind of front running type. So once 1 and 2, if they do break, then 3 and 4, it's going to make that difficult. 5's edging across, where does he turn? And as you say, Magical Sapphire, she will be coming off the last bend. She will be finishing faster than anything. There's no danger that. So a qualifying spot could fall into her lap, or maybe Glengar Silent's lap. I think Phoenix Memphis and Check for Cash might have plenty to do, especially if Check for Cash doesn't get his his wallop that we normally expect from him. But yeah, I think really on the draw more than anything else, I saw proper errors. But now you've mentioned about, I saw that as well with Magical Sapphire, and I scratched my head a little bit, and I thought, oh, maybe she's not as good as I thought she was, but she still came home hard, bless her. And yeah, that could be another where those place market bets, and she could be a big price as well.
Yeah, she'll definitely be a big price. The proper ARS will ensure that. The one thing about proper ARS, it lost on debut at Enniscorthy from Trap 1. Right? No, hear me out now. It lost on debut from Trap 1 in Enniscorthy on August 5th, 2024. Or sorry, July 29th, 2024. It came back a week later to win from Trap 2 in 28.69 around Enniscorthy. I spoke to the breeder earlier in the week, actually. Willie O'Connor rang me about a completely separate matter, about looking for a foster mother. And he told me he stood out from the very start. He said this was a hell of a greyhound. He wasn't actually right, he said, on debut, but he was right the following week anyway. But that's the only time he's ever been beaten from Trap 1. He's 6 from 6 since then.
Right.
Sometimes statistics are there slapping you in the face, and it's not as if it's in bad company. Like, it's all OR1, OR1, OR1. It's all in the very, very best of company. Now, don't get me wrong. He should have lost his last start from Trap 1, but he didn't.
He didn't.
And the fact of the matter is, he's drawn in Trap 1 again. And as I said, I think he will maybe touch evens at some point. I don't think he'll end up. I think he'll be returned probably 4 to 5, 8 to 11. But he's still the greyhound to beat because it's in his own hands. If he wings it like he can, he's going to be the one to beat. But if you were going to oppose him, I'm struggling to pick one to oppose him with other than Sing Along Curly. And I think the reason you could oppose him with Sing Along Curly is because of that 333. The fact that he is coming on leaps and bounds. He's now what? He's now 4 from 6 or 5 from 6. He is definitely going places, and he's from a fast family. Pat thinks a lot of him. That's the reason. Don't get me wrong. In a year's time, Glengar Silent could be the standout in the race, outside of proper ARS, because he's going the right way. I just think he's more backward than even though he has more races than Sing Along Curly, I think he's more backward than him. I think he's huge pace. But yeah, listen, proper ARS, the one to beat. It's a watching on race for me, purely because I couldn't back proper ARS at odds on, just in this competitive a race where he does miss it. They're not slouches, and that's the key. Having seen him from Trap 1 the last night, just be concerned that he'd repeat the start.
But
is there an angle? Go on.
I did say that to you though, didn't I? You have to line that second round run. I did say, line it. Just forget about it. Just literally.
The run disappointed me, but it was still a missed kick from Trap 1.
He still roared up, Ian, and despite we said about the Pudney ground and made excuses for certain dogs, he still went to the bend, this dog. He still went to the bend. And that's the thing with him. He's a professional breaker, and he's got early pace. He's got 2 to 3, and he sees 550 yards on his head. So what's not to like?
Will you play?
I've played already. I've done the double, yeah.
Good man,
cheap sandwiches and proper ARS, yeah.
What price was proper ARS?
5 to 6.
5 to 6. You're happy with that?
Similar to your 1.9. Yeah, because... am I worried about whether he's 1.91 or 2.02? I'm not. It's all that's just the way I looked at it, and it could be that if the contingent go over there, they might actually force him to be, a 1.8 chance. So I don't know.
Well, the fact of the matter is, with the exchanges having so much say now in the return price, he is the UK contender, and the sheer weight of money and weight of numbers in the UK, like this dog could I'm only talking through my backside in the sense where that's where I feel he should end up or could end up. Maybe on track he could end up around a 4 to 5 chance, but he could easily be returned 1.6 in the exchange.
It could easily be that. This is what I'm saying. If you take a step back and talk about the anti-post market, these two dogs are standout dogs at the top end of the market. They are proper Derby class dogs. We're talking about Sing Along Curlies that might be one day. These dogs are now.
Yeah,
that they are the two dogs that are now. And proper ARS, you've just said he was 6 out of 6, just bar an anomaly. So I've got no qualms. If the trap's open and he comes out with the field, he will be first at the first bend, and that will be it. Good night, Vienna.
Oh, I agree with you. If he traps on terms with them, he goes round in front. Simple as that. Yeah. No, that's fair enough. So you're basically, that 1.9 is basically trapping. That's what you're betting on. Yeah,
100%.
Even then, you still have a chance if he doesn't get the flying start, but because he's got the right draw and he has the overall pace. Yeah. I think 1.19. Whoever said he'd be 1.9, he'll definitely be a 1.76 best. Right. Moving on to Heat 4, and the laddie Darrow Pal will be favourite from Trap 4. Ran into traffic off the second bend. It was sort of a little bit predictable the other evening. Just I took a chance. He did run hard to qualify. He continues to run hard. He doesn't like taking the gaps where he doesn't want to take the gaps. Does that make sense? The second bend, third bend, he'll tend to just dab the brake if you had to. It's the last bend where he really makes his move. I'm not sure he's driving through gaps like he used to, but the engine is every bit as good as it was.
Yeah, no, to be fair, Ian, that was always going to be the way. We said last week with, the two early birds on his inside, Fay Point Harvey was always going to be the dog just to get it away, because I didn't fancy Fay Point Harvey clearing check for cash anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But he was always going to be there, and it proved to be. He just couldn't make his mind up quick enough. That I thought that was the problem. He just kept.
But my issue is PL now. It's 3 nights in a row he hasn't been able to make his mind up at the second bend, because certainly 2 of those nights he could have gone through the inside.
Yeah, I think you're being a bit hard on him. I think think he's. I just think he's running really, really, really well. And
I'm not disagreeing with you on that fact.
And he's just a dog that, again, we mentioned that last week. He just finds a way. He does find a way. And let me tell you something now. Liam Downing, he'll take third. Don't worry about that. He will take third. And listen, he'd love to see him win, the old boy, but I hope he makes it there. I really do.
He is one that the layers will try to get. There's no question.
Because of the awkward draw.
We've said that 2 or 3 weeks now in a row, where he was a shade of odds on last week at one point. We knew he'd be odds against. It was certainly set the case the previous week as well. He's 11-8 now, best sort of 5-4, 11-10. I think he'd be comfortably 6-4 on the night. And I do think we both have found one we can take him on with. I'm with Rural Pest, just at bigger prices. He was a touch of 6-1 earlier in the week. He's now around 9-2. He's been a dog I found a little bit frustrating to follow in recent weeks. But he is trappy. And I think the key for his race is clearing Oriawali, because I think he may well just clear the rest of them. If he does clear Oriawali and gets off the front, I think the prices available are huge, because he will stay 550 yards. He does stay 550 yards. He'll stay 575 yards. If he can get to the corner in front, I think he'll take the world of beating Rural Pest, and I think he's got a draw to do that. And I'm not disagreeing. We set it off air briefly beforehand. You're giving one a chance on the inside.
Yeah, I just thought that Barefoot and Song was running well. She's just seems to be kind of going forward at the right time as well. I mean, she was third behind Proper Heiress and Cheap Sandwiches. She'd have got beat 4 lengths. And now I know they're probably, in a way, cutting each other's throats, but the time said different.
But you're right. They're still doing the 29-27 up front. I did a double take when I looked at distances. I couldn't believe she was only beaten 3 behind Cheap Sandwiches. It's a hell of a line of form. She has a litter of pups in the ground. They're a year old. I know 1 or 2 of them are even schooled. Like that's how where we're at with her. But she's running hard. She's very trappy. I agree with you. I think there's a modicum of value there.
The thing is that the kind of negative, a little bit of a negative for her is Oriawali, because he'll probably go in a little bit, not too much, a little bit, tiny bit, but he's got that early dash. I'm not too sure he might be a bit of a kid of that dog as well. He might kind of find a bit more when dogs come to him as well, Oriawali, because I didn't know whether he was vulnerable, doesn't really stay, or whether, say he was just saving a bit for himself. But he's running at the top of his game, and he is. I think he's the key to the race if you want to back Rural Pest, because you're right. They're probably the 2 greyhounds that you probably think will be prominent in this race. other than can Barefoot on Song trap like she did 2 runs back in the second round, because that was a good effort when she beat Banner Bowler Joe and held him. And when I mentioned about him, he would have had to get to her by the third turn, otherwise he's got no chance of beating her, because she will keep going, and she kept going behind two, as I said to you, Derby class dogs.
Yeah.
So I thought 10-1 about her was wrong. I thought
Yeah,
it was
no, I
wrong.
agree with you. I think you could Dutch the pair. I think you'd be okay just for small money. The laddie da, as I said, if you're looking to back him, I would wait till late. I think he'll be 6-4 comfortably on the night. That could well be at 2.7 on the exchange. So just don't get too stuck in at the shorter prices now. And don't get us wrong, neither of us are ruling out the laddie da. I think it's safe to say both of us are expecting the laddie da to qualify. He could well win the race. I think
Yeah.
he'll need a bomb to knock him out.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. Just to say, he's running well and he keeps finding a way. He's just that ultimate professional, and he's quality. He's just got, he's got a big engine, and he keeps going. Um, yes, you should probably know more than I about him sort of saving that little bit for himself.
Well,
Yeah,
funny enough, Saturday night was the first time where I really thought it myself. That Callaway 5 came to him and headed him, and he just went, no, to hell with that. And he went again, and I think he was caught the hop then by Droopy's Deploy, who sort of arrived to nab him. But no, I agree with you, and it's not jealousy. It was just it's a more just no, to hell with that. Stuck his head out again. You know what I mean? He's not
yeah,
turning his head or anything like that, but just there's definitely a jealous sort of a desire to win, shall we say?
yeah. As I say, I always I think we both said last week we didn't really know where he was going to turn or how. And I think you made a reference to the College Causeway thing. Oh, you'll just win, sort of thing. Well,
Yeah.
he just got driven mad. And in the I suppose certain dogs are a little bit cute, and he has been around the block a little bit. They go, oh look, I'll qualify anyway. I'll just keep going. But yeah, you're right. He probably got blindsided a little bit by Droopy's Deploy, but he's there, and that's the important thing. And yeah, I hope he progresses. It's a tricky enough race to weigh up, Ian. We've kind of dismissed to a certain extent Ballyhooly Bruno. You said you might have had that little bit of an issue, and he didn't really go massively hard through the line last week. Probably a little bit better than he did the week before in the bad conditions. And Kusain Pickles, she's one that's she's probably going to get taken off her feet. So she'll need plenty to happen up front for her to
Yeah.
then get in the race, because she's probably going to turn last dog here.
She's going to have to be picking up probably the likes of a Deladdy Dar, Rural Pest, or even a Ballyhooly Bruno barefoot on song to qualify. And that's just not easily done. That's not easily done.
No.
Yeah, that's it. 4 heats. You're after going with the double, proper ARS and cheap sandwiches, as well as nibbles on Prices Romeo in the chances market, or indeed a small bet on the win market, or not even the chances market, the place market. Yeah, it doesn't have to be cheap sandwiches beating you. If you're second to the right dog, it doesn't matter, or to any dog. I tend to agree with that one. I'm with Rural Pest in the final heat, just at the prices, and you're going to go with Barefoot on Song, represents a bit of value there. Did I miss anything else?
No, that's it. And the anti-post bet was the Magical Mag.
Magical Mag. We're both in agreement that he too is very tricky, but Magical Mag and Ballymac Stud certainly make more appeal than their rivals, I think is the best way to say it. That's it, PL. 4 heats done. By the time we speak next week, we'll be down to the final 12. Ballymac Stud may well be clear favourite for Derby Glory, or cheap sandwiches perhaps clear favourite Derby Glory. Maybe proper ARS, you never know. It might just happen. But listen, we'll keep the Irish flag flying, but it is fantastic to see proper ARS there. And I'll tell you one thing, social media was a buzz last Saturday night after the run of the pair of them. It really did, fill in that void left by Bocco's Diamond. And we can't underestimate how much of a difference it makes to the competition when you have a little bit of international competition, shall we say.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. I say a lot of people were making bold statements that they're the best race they've ever seen around Shelbourne Park, but it was a super. I actually went back and I was doing the videos this morning. I went back and it actually sent a shiver through my whole body. When they say the hairs stand up at the back of your neck, and obviously your commentary makes it as well. It was It was
cheap sandwiches.
That's it. Yeah,
We
I
got
didn't
there.
want to make. Yeah, I got there in the end. Yeah.
Listen,
Very
PL,
good.
thanks as always. Don't forget, folks, pod 50 if you're joining up for Matchbook. £50 back as a free bet once you've bet £50. And of course, the Track Club, Monday to Thursday. Bet £30 in bets and you'll get a tenner back on the Friday for the weekend's action. It's a no-brainer. Make sure to like and subscribe and check out the NFL podcast, the Horses podcast, and of course, the best in the business, Adrian and Mark with the football podcast. But that's it from us this evening. We shall see you next week when we'll be previewing the semi-finals of the World Sports Irish Greyhound Derby. Good luck. God bless.